Her life story reads like a plot from a bizarre fairy tale where a happy ending is nowhere in sight. Instead of a room, it's a dirty attic. Instead of food, it's scraps. Instead of friends, it's rats. This is the tale of a 19th-century French Cinderella named Blanche Monnier. So, what did Blanche Monnier do to endure 25 years of captivity? You might think it was due to a troubled family, but that's far from the truth. Blanche Monnier was born on March 1, 1849, in Poitiers, France, into an affluent family belonging to the aristocracy. She was not the only child. Blanche had a brother. Their father was the dean of the local university, and their mother was a society lioness. Moreover, her parents were very religious. It seemed like Blanche had everything going for her: lavish dinners, social gatherings, discussions on high culture, and noble suitors. She had all the makings of the ideal of feminine beauty of her time, with a petite, delicate face, long flowing hair, and a slender, graceful figure. She was the epitome of 19th-century female beauty. Her modesty and shyness attracted men like a magnet, but Blanche was in no hurry to choose a partner. While her formidable mother, Louise Leonard, searched for a suitable match for her daughter, Blanche became involved with a man named Charles Emile. They were even on the verge of getting married, but there was no real affinity between the groom and the mother-in-law. Who could blame them? A run-of-the-mill lawyer, who was significantly older than Blanche, clearly didn't meet Louise's stringent requirements. The mother sternly forbade her daughter from continuing the relationship with this riffraff. However, when it comes to matters of the heart, as you know, reason often goes out the window. A romance developed between Blanche and Charles Emile. They eloped, fleeing like two teenagers from incomprehending parents, medieval constraints, and stereotypes. They were pursued with dogs but were never found. It's a classic plotline for any melodrama: a man and a woman, madly in love, eloping like two runaway teenagers from parents who don't understand them. Search parties were dispatched, but the lovers were never found. You might think this was the case, but the story unfolded differently. Someone indeed disappeared. It was Blanche. Neighbors and acquaintances initially became alarmed, but they later dismissed it, believing that she had met with an unfortunate accident. The sudden disappearance was soon forgotten, as everyone had their own problems to contend with. Only Charles Emile never gave up his search for his beloved. He continued searching for her practically until his death in 1885. 3 years before that, Blanche's father passed away, unaware of his daughter's captivity. If only the love-stricken man had known where to look. As it turned out, Blanche never left her home. She spent 25 years in captivity, but not in the traditional sense. She was imprisoned on the attic floor, and that's how her mother, Louise Leonard, decided to handle her stubborn daughter. Louise used her own method of discipline, locking Blanche in the room. At first glance, it might seem like a common form of punishment. After all, who hasn't been put in the corner or grounded at some point in their childhood? But, here's the catch: Blanche lived her life without ever leaving that room. For 25 years, she didn't see the sun, survived on scraps from her family's meals, shared her bed with insects and rats, and forgot the existence of a shower, a comb, or a toothbrush. She was discovered when she was 49 years old. A 55-pound creature, she was found covered in a tangle of her own hair and bore no resemblance to the French heartbreaker from the past. You might have many questions by now. Did no one among the passers-by or neighbors ever notice anything suspicious? Where was Blanche's father? What about her brother? Did no one intervene in her mother's tyranny? Interestingly, many people had their suspicions. They often heard frantic cries and screams from the Monnier household. Blanche's father knew nothing about his daughter's captivity, and her brother, who was aware of the situation, didn't share any details and did not rush to help his sister. If only someone had reported the strange occurrences earlier, everything might have turned out differently. Unfortunately, there were no good Samaritans in this story. Blanche was found on May 23, 1901, when an anonymous letter was delivered to the prosecutor's office. The sender wished to remain anonymous. The letter reported a heinous crime, detailing the life of a woman named Blanche Monnier, who had been held in captivity for 25 years in the house of Madame Monnier. The police were astonished when they discovered the wretched Blanche. During the search of the house, Louise Leonard behaved nonchalantly, sipping coffee. She seemed not to understand what was happening. Madame Monnier was sent to prison accompanied by her son, Marcel. She didn't live to see her trial. She died in her cell 15 days after her arrest. Incapacitated, Marcel was acquitted. If you're still hoping for a happy ending, I regret to disappoint you. Blanche spent the remainder of her life in a psychiatric hospital in Blois. She passed away at the age of 64. This story may read like fiction, but sadly, it is true. Blanche Monnier's mother turned out to be a true tyrant, and Blanche herself was tragically unlucky, and Blanche herself was